So hello and welcome back to the Sam Beast YouTube channel. Before we start, as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We've been growing a lot lately as Rory moves his camera. Nice, thank you, Rory.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just. I feel like
You're too
I'm
high.
looking
Yeah,
up
yeah,
there, and
yeah. That's better. That's better. You're back down to a normal level, Rory. It's been about a year since we've had you on, so we're getting PTSD and withdrawal symptoms. So we had to get you back, obviously, for a big
that's
interview as well.
likewise. I've missed you all. So
Nice.
thank you very much for tuning in and for hosting, Dave. So yeah.
No, I think this is like the third or fourth. If it was a football match, you'd have the hat trick match ball at least by now, right? With all the signings from all the players and everyone on there.
If this was Sunday brunch, I'd have a silver mug for the number of appear. Yeah, you go on Sunday brunch so many times they give you a silver mug. So
Oh, Sunday brunch, the TV show.
yes.
Oh, right, yeah. Phew, straight over my head. Sorry, mate. Sorry about that one. But today, I wanted to do a video about the ISO standards, and there was no one I could think of that would be better to try and explain and go through what the ISO standards actually are, which ones are relevant for ITAM, which ones people should know about, because there were ones that are relevant for ITAM, but as we were discussing before we started, some have kind of obsolete or been retired. And finally, just to summarize, without causing too much controversy, are they actually worth it? Now, I say that because I've never known a client or an organization to want to be certified against ISO ITAM standards. But we'll get to that bit at the end. But let's leave that one to the end. Let's go through them all. So, first of all, Rory, what is the actual point of the ISO standards in general? Like, what are they?
The ISO standards, be they, are we looking at ISO globally? Do you mean?
Yeah, we can start with
Yeah.
ISO
Okay.
globally. What is the point?
So ISO standards globally give someone in industry a means or method by which to operate. And I think the most obvious and real world example we can give are barcodes. So when it comes to establishing barcodes, say you need to put it on the side of your product, whatever it may be, there is a set format by which you have to follow to determine country of origin, what the product does, yada yada yada, that kind of thing. So you have to run through that. There you go. You have to run through that I wouldn't say assault course, but that framework or methodology by which barcodes are created, so that if you do want your product scanned and recognised, then your format of barcode can be generally accepted. So that's a very sort of simple and point-based example of barcodes, of ISO standards and how they apply. From a sort of a wider an IT and an IT asset management perspective, then at that point, 19770 looks to offer a system or framework by which you can consider all aspects of management and governance of hardware and software assets. So, if I would argue there's real value in considering it from an enterprise perspective as well, because if you're an organisation of a certain size, you found that spend is going out the door, or regulators are sort of on the other side of that door knocking on a regular basis and hammering you with fines, then you want something systematic to apply that can be scalable and understood by everybody. And I think that's where ISO comes into its own there.
So ISO basically a set of standards, frameworks that help certain. Well, it's quite a broad spectrum, right? From ISO, we look at it at a very small technology perspective. I mean, things like the information security ISO standards are very popular and prevalent, and a lot of organisations like to get certified against those. There's obviously the ones around data as well. There's ones around environmental standards and ESG standards, which ITAD providers like to throw their, we're standard against these ISO ones. So it's a really good set of framework. I must admit, they're not. I don't feel like there's a lot of accessibility for people to be able to look at the ISO standards. It's all secondhand information, if you like, because if you go on their website, you have to pay for them, right? You have to pay to see the ISO standards.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the way of the ISO world. It's not like shall we say, the Linux Foundation, where if you've logged on and you've got a certain password, you can download
Yeah.
collateral. It is the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But I would argue that if you are that enterprise organisation, you are looking to plant a seed. The cost is not that much. It's a fly swat, in fact, in terms of cost compared. When you talk about how much you pay for a SAM suite, how much you pay for a PDF from ISO, it doesn't equate. It's not a debate.
Yeah, agreed. But also at the same time, there's a lot of analysis of these ISO standards out there that third parties have done as well. So yeah, you could get a lot of the information on what's actually expected. But yeah, like Rory said, if you are looking to get certified for anything, it's not a lot of money at all. So it's definitely well worth buying the PDF so that you know exactly what you're after. So you've already mentioned it there, the ITAM standards. What is relevant for us and in our world? And you referenced there, they're in a group which is the 19770, which feels like it's been ingrained in my head ever since I started in the ITAM world. Just referencing that a lot. But there's a lot of dashes, right? There's a lot of iterations, -1, -2, -3, -4, etc. So first of all, yeah, Rory, shall we have a look at -1? And yeah, I do have an iPad here. Not an iPad, a OnePlus. If you're looking for a good alternative to iPads, these are very good, I have to say. This is not an ad for OnePlus, by the way. I just really genuinely love this tablet. It's really good. By the by, forget about that bit. Although I will keep it in OnePlus if you do want to sponsor us. Rory and I will gladly take some free kit. You'll take
Much
some
of this is
free
going to make the
hardware, won't
final
you,
cut.
Rory? It will. Don't worry. We're nice and relaxed here. So, -1, Mr. Canavan. What is
Yes.
-1 all about?
That's the ITAM requirement. So this is the granddaddy of the 19770 family. This is talking about the framework of processes required to apply from a governance, strategy, vision, operations, and Deming cycle perspective. Then at that point, so having taken your organisation and overlaid it to the document, you should come out with a set of requirements that you are looking to implement to manage hardware and software.
Fair to say it's the most popular one, right, of the ITAM ISO standards. It's the most well-known one as well, and probably the most relevant one, as it covers a lot of the spectrum that we manage in the ITAM world.
Yeah, I think so. And as we start to run through the other family members on the 19770 side, you'll see how that statement is backed up. Absolutely.
And just for reference, you can literally go on the ISO standards website as well, and you can see all of the information about these on there. And it gives a great blurb on like when it was last updated, what kind of updates were in there, what it's used for, etc., and what the related ones are. Now, the -1 standard, am I right in saying, is this the one that people are trying to get certified against, or is that the whole ISO suite?
No, it is the -1. That's the one they're looking to get certified against. So I would say about 2 years ago now, a lot of work has been done to get a certification body to take the standard from its unadopted status. So prior to, you might have had a good idea to say, oh, let's get certified.
Yeah.
But up until at that 2 year point, what you would have been certified against would have been, say, Sam Beast Consulting's interpretation of ISO. But there was no means by which Sam Beast could go to an authority and say, how do I give certification? How do I audit an organisation? How can we get that certificate with the ISO badge on it? That has now been achieved. So the standard is adopted. And I believe it's an organisation in the Netherlands called Brand Compliance that sort of drove all of that. So we started to see, I think there's a couple of 3 or 4 companies in the EU that have got that certification now at this point. So you can, along with say 27001, which is information security, you can get a certificate to put on the wall to say this organisation is compliant, and there's the ISO badge on the certificate to prove it.
Great point. So ISO 20, was it 27001?
Yeah,
I don't know why it seemed to be such a thing at the time, but I remember in the early no wait, when did I start? The 2010s. It seemed to be every organisation was trying to achieve that certificate for the information security ISO standard. Like I
yeah,
remember actually going to I can't remember what organisation it was, but they proudly had it framed in their IT department, like on the wall, like we worked
yeah.
hard for this. We're going to display it. I haven't heard that recently. I've not heard any organisations now that keep striving for that certification. Was that just like a thing in the 2010s, or is it still a thing
Well,
now? But that
no, I mean this happened, I would say, in the last 2 years or so. So getting that ability for brand compliance to go to organisations to grant an ISO certificate has only happened in the last. And I'm open to correction on the exact dates there, but I would say it's about 2 years. So there's still a lot of evangelising that needs to take place. But
right,
there's ever anything in the ISO world, it's well, at least on the ITAM side of life, it is quite glacial. It's not. We need that wildfire moment, if you will.
yeah. But whether you believe, not believe, that's the wrong word. Whether you want to follow the ISO standards for ITAM or not, if you're an ITAM professional practitioner just getting started in the industry, just learn about it, read about it. You might even get some ideas that you can then put into place when you're implementing ITAM within your organization. But at least having the knowledge of what Dash 1 in particular is all about, what it's trying to set out, what it's trying to achieve. If you're in the ITAM space, it's kind of a no-brainer to at least be clued up onto what the standards are, right? You can't just dismiss them and say we're not going to be certified against this. I'm not bothering reading it. It's you still got to understand what it's for, right? Back me up on that
Yeah,
one, Rory, please.
no, absolutely. And to your point, there could be people who are watching and thinking, "Oh, getting certification is too much like hard work. We don't want certification. Where do we go?" This is not a binary value or a binary assessment. What you should be looking to do is improve from where you are. So it may be that you go through some sort of an assessment against where you are in relation to ISO, and you find out, oh God, look at all that work we've got to do. Well, don't if that scares you, don't do it all. Do some of it, and then at least you've improved your given position, and then you can perhaps review in 12 or 18 months' time. Do we go again? Do we push on, or have we plateaued? Are we where we need to be for our type and size of organisation? And you've done your job then at that point.
So that's a great point. Is there any supporting documentation that might be out there to support ISO, ITAM process implementation or guidance or anything like that, Rory? Hint, hint,
Well,
wink, wink. Sam
imagine
Charter.
that. There is. If you go to itamaccelerate.com, there is the ITAM Accelerate process kit, so you can, as the name suggests, accelerate your process adoption. And again, for those people who may be watching who are not sort of fully conversed on ISO and ITAM as a topic, of course, these are the processes. That doesn't mean to say that the people or the tooling are necessarily onboarded, but that should come through the processes. The processes are the glue of SAM. It brings the people and the technology together and points them in the direction of operation and strategy. So, yeah, absolutely. itamaccelerate.com will give you that kit, and it is certified as well, which is one of the other ISOs that we will probably come on to shortly.
Nice, brilliant, excellent. And a link to the ITAM Accelerate will be, I mean, Rory said it then, but we'll put a link in the description anyway. Because Rory said he'd only come on the channel again if he could promote Sam Charter and ITAM Accelerate. I'm joking, he never said
Busted.
that. He definitely didn't say that. And just a quick one for anyone who is watching, yes, that is a Mercedes Formula One car in the background that Rory has built. He's very proud of that one. And we won't talk about the livery yet, but yeah, you spent a lot of time building that one, didn't you? It's very cool.
Yeah, 9-year-old me was very happy when I saw on the web that Lego have sort of put a technical technical model together for McLaren and
That's
sorry,
Mercedes.
Mercedes, because it used to be Mercedes McLaren, didn't it? It's Mercedes. They have very good, very good.
I'm not quite at your level yet. There's my level.
But they also do a Red Bull. They also do the McLaren, as I mentioned, and the Ferrari is coming out in March, and that's
Yeah.
pre-ordered. So yeah,
And there's
absolutely.
that's an ITAM theme Mercedes, and we'll leave it at that. We won't mention any more. Spoil that one for you. Right. So that's the dash one, dash two. Now this is, I must admit, one that again I think we were talking beforehand. I remember being more prevalent in the 2010s, and
Yeah.
you don't really hear of it now. And dash two is about SWID tags, software identification tags. Um, is this one still going on, Rory? Is this still active?
No, so two, two. We can do this in the round. So 2, 3, 4, and 6 are tags of various kinds. So we'll just run through the tags. Dash 2 is software ID tags. Dash 3 are software entitlement tags. Dash 4 are resource utilization tags or RUM
Yep.
tags. I can't quite remember what the RUM is for. And dash 6 are hardware tags. Now, I think a run back to history on why these tags were so were sort of offered up as reasons why we should standardise in the first place. It was to help with identification. Back in the day when SAM tools were sort of emerging, there was a real problem with educating SAM tools. And so the proposition was put forward, well, if we put an XML and human readable type tag next to a software installation, then we can say that this is the barcode, if you will, of recognizing a software installation, and it makes the SAM Suite tools job easier. And the proposition was put forward that these tags could be created by software vendors and then placed adjacent to software installations, and SAM tools would just have a very easy time of recognizing software for the dash 2 side of life. But that required buy-in from software vendors.
Yeah.
Now, there was limited success, I believe, with Microsoft and Adobe. I think Citrix are still quite fans of it. But by and large, the vast majority of the software publisher world just sort of waltzed on by. They didn't, because there's no imperative or benefit to them
No,
to doing
of
it.
course there's not, because it's giving people like us the opportunity to really quickly and easily identify what software's out there and spend less money with them, because that's
Yeah,
what we try and do is optimize. You've unlocked some core memories there. I feel like I really remember the real push and the drive in the ITAM industry back in the 2010s for the SWID tag adoptions with, like you said, Microsoft, Adobe, Citrix. I think there was I might be lying. Wasn't Autodesk one when they had their old perpetual AutoCAD, Revit, all of that kind of stuff? I don't know why they're coming up in my brain, but yeah, I remember this being a really big push back then, and you can see why the benefits for us in ITAM are quite nice and quite
yeah.
good. The benefits for the software vendors are not so. Is it? Is it not so good? Well,
It's that Vicky Verky thing, isn't it? Do you want to, what sort of a relationship do you want with your customers? Do you want them to be empowered and understanding of what it is they have on their IT estate, or do you want to wait
yeah.
until the contract renewal and it trip them up and then scoop them for extra money? Call me a
It
cynic.
is. No, it is. Just imagine though if SWID tags were still, with the whole Java issue, if there was a unique SWID tag for each Java edition, how easy would it have been for organisations to identify which is licensable and which isn't?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, from the software side, you can see why they wouldn't do it. So it never really got off the ground.
So eventually, what there was a couple of holes in terms of implementation. So the tags, because they are XML and they are or JSON tags, as was later sort of espoused, they're not immutable.
Right.
So, and by that I mean the tags can be changed. So they don't become an authoritative source or an authoritative record. And I think that's possibly another reason why the software vendors thought, you know what, yeah, you know, are we going to advocate tags that can be changed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So is that
probably
it
not.
now? Is it just done?
So those four standards now at this point, they're essentially on the shelf. I don't know that they will go through any subsequent revisions, which is a shame. There was also a -7, which for a brief while I was the editor on it,
Ooh.
which was the tagging taxonomy standard. So at that point, it's what framework do you have in place to manage tags in support of IT asset management. But it was felt that if tags are not being adopted and becoming accepted generally in general practice in the IT states, why are we writing standards for it? So it was kind of just shelved then at that point.
That's a really good question. So, at what point, like, if you when you were doing the -7 one, at what
Yeah.
point does the committee, the ISO committee that are building these standards, just think we've really tried to get this out there, we've tried to get it implemented, we've tried to get software vendors or hardware vendors or IT or ITAM professionals following it. At what point do they look at the standards and go, yeah, this one's not really being followed anymore, or yeah, we shouldn't really spend too much more time revising and updating this one? Is there that kind of conscious decision making?
Well, yeah. I mean, it got driven to a point because these standards are coming up and they're being revised through national bodies.
Yeah.
It's at what point do people engage with them, and then at what point do people say, actually, hang on a minute, what am I endorsing here? Am I just giving this lip service and saying yes, go through, I don't care about it, kind of thing, or am I actually saying no, nobody's using this, nobody's doing anything with this, and what we did is we called back some of the authors who had long since, shall we say, departed WG21. People like Jason Keogh. I do remember Jason quite pointedly saying, if it's not being used, how can it be called a standard? Or if it's not adopted, how can it be used called a standard? And I think that was quite a pivotal moment in that particular meeting. So yeah, it was a formal decision was made to put these things in the cupboard and say thanks very much. Now, what replaces that? What sort of comes next? Good question. I don't know. Could you take the ISO standard as it is at the moment and apply it to cloud? Possibly. But then you've got this thing over here called FinOps
Yeah, I was about to say yeah.
and the Linux Foundation. And I can't go on LinkedIn anymore without anybody telling me they've got FinOps Foundation certification at this point. It's just like
Or focus, yeah.
and that again is an adjacent framework, but that looks exclusively at cloud management, cloud asset management, and how you take that forward. Because it's a hop to the left compared to IT asset management. Whereas I would argue IT asset management or software asset management is looking at primarily cost savings and cost avoidance and license compliance as its primary reasons for existence. There are many more reasons why you might plug into IT asset management. FinOps is TCO and ROI driven. So, but its billing cycles are by the second or by the minute. Therefore, you've got to be much more agile than how ITAM has perceived as running according to the life cycle of a contract and a true-up cycle as well. So you might make decisions, at monthly rates. If you do that in FinOps, you're going to die. So yeah, sorry, that's just my analogy
No,
of it all.
and to be honest, with just off on a tangent, but on the FinOps side of things, I do enjoy seeing people getting the certifications because they are very good. I really enjoyed both the focus and the practitioner one. The only thing I would say is please actually put it into practice. It's nice to just get a certificate because everyone else is, but use it. Put it to good use. You spent that time learning on it. Don't feel like you're getting it just because everyone else is. It'd be great to actually put it into practice with your day-to-day jobs? Because it feels like, yeah, especially over that Christmas period, you log on to LinkedIn and every man and his dog, people in marketing were getting it from, ITAM companies, people in sales and stuff. It's like, good, but I really hope you do find it valuable and you do use it somehow in your day-to-day jobs, because they are so worthwhile. They're really good.
Yeah.
Just quickly back on the SWID tags bit though.
Yeah.
Something that popped into my head: would SWID tags even work in the current way that software vendors are delivering software? You think about SaaS stuff. You think about stuff in the cloud. Would the way that SWID tags were set up, was it more for installed based software or software on a concurrent license server somewhere? How was it actually going to? Would it even work in 2025?
So if you have a tag for on-prem software, then and the tag is detectable by a SAM suite, the tag will work, because most of the SAM suites now will have somewhere in the blurb they are -2 compliant. As for SaaS or IaaS, IaaS cloud, stroke cloud, has taken on tagging to another dimension, but it's not around recognition,
No.
because the recognition takes point at the point of request. You know what you're buying, therefore, why do you need to recognise it to do compliance? You don't. But you do need to allocate that spend against a given budget, and that's where we start with tagging in the cloud, and it just opens up.
Wait, I think we've done it. We did a video about tagging in the cloud, didn't we? I'm sure it was you that we did the FinOps tagging and the importance of it and why you should be doing it and stuff like that. If we did, I will put a little thing in the top corner of this video which will link you to that one, which I'm sure was with Rory. I'm sure it was with you.
Okay, I forgive me. It must have been so long ago, David. You haven't had me on in an age, So
I'm sure
yeah.
it was with you. I'll double check. If it wasn't with you, we'll get you on to do a video about FinOps tagging. Good, yeah. So Dash 2, great initiative, great overall goal of what it was trying to achieve, but unfortunately, didn't get all of the buy-in with the software vendors. So that one, like Rory said, has been parked. Dash 3, which Rory quickly mentioned, is the entitlement schema. This one, again, I must admit, I know little on this one. I don't really remember this one. When was it published? 2016. Don't think it's had an update since 2016. From what I can see on here, I don't remember this one much at all, but this is about a set of terms and definitions which may be used when discussing software entitlements. Also provides specifications for a transport format which enables a digital consumption of software entitlements, including associated metrics and their management.
So I guess, and again, I'm a bit hazy on this one as well, but I suspect your tag then would be representative of a license or a contract then at that point for a given instance.
Yeah, so is this kind of a bit like FinOps Focus, where they're trying to determine a set common framework that cloud providers provide billing information, consumption information? Is this trying to do the same with software entitlements? It talks about included associated metrics and their management.
I think what it's trying to do is some of the heavy lifting that some of the lesser SAM tools couldn't do back in the days.
Right, apologies, people, if you notice a difference in camera quality for me, but my main camera that I record with has died. The battery is gone. So unfortunately, for the rest of this, you're stuck with the video camera on the laptop, as it won't let me switch to anything else. But anyway, sorry, Rory, we were discussing the Dash 3 entitlement schema before my camera sadly died.
So my again, I qualify anything I'm about to say as being I'm a little hazy on Dash 3. I'm not the guru on it by any stretch, but my understanding is that the tag would basically give you a green light to say that if it's adjacent to a given bit of software, then it's good to go. You are license compliant with that because you understand it's correlated. It must be correlated back to a contract or a license or something like that. It's representative of saying, but on the IT estate as opposed to in a system like Ariba that you have to pull it in from.
Nice. And now dash four, which you also knew off the top of your head, which is very impressive, is the resource utilization measurement to facilitate IT asset management. That is literally the only information that I can see on the ISO standards website for dash four, and it was last published in 2017. So again, is this
Okay.
another one that didn't really get off the ground?
So again, quite ironically, seeing I was, editor of Dash Seven, but resource utilization tags. So if you're familiar with the IBM world of how varying license types bounce around, you've got RVUs, resource value units, UVUs, user value units. What's the most common one?
You said
It's
PVUs?
not PVUs, processor value units as well, which that has sort of crossed over to mainstream consumption with regards to cores and the like, and Oracle and core factor tables and stuff. But basically, it's the consumption, a relative measure of the consumption of the software. And again, I guess if the SAM suite wasn't up to the heavy lifting of being able to do that via contracts and licensing and entitlement data, and comparing that against installation data, this one's a bit more tricky because it's you're really getting down into the weeds with the level of data you need to drive at a compliance position via tags. On the shelf again, unfortunately.
On the shelf
Yes.
again, unfortunately. Dash 5, which again Rory knew off by heart, and for some reason is $0. CHF on the ISO standards website. Dash 5 is the overview and vocabulary. Good one for me to say. So this is about consistent terms and definitions for the usage throughout the ISO 19770 family of standards. First published in 2015. I believe this was last reviewed in 2010, 2021, so remains current and in use. So yeah, Rory, Dash 5, is this another one that's on the shelf for now?
No. Dash 5 is live and vibrant. It's
Oh,
it's good to go. So, and particularly if you're not paying any Swiss francs for it, I would download it. It's just a little irk of mine. So I'm dealing with a particular client at the moment. I'll not name names, but they're doing this thing of gathering, of course, various inventory sources for data, and they're trying to harmonise it so that when it goes into any sort of tool, be it CMDB, be it a SAM suite or whatever, they're running off a single source of truth. It's not the data's not competing with each other. And they're calling this reconciliation. And to you and I, David, that would, trip our spidey senses, because that is normalization. So I did sort of steam. Well, I didn't steam in, but I did politely raise the point. We're not
you
using the
steamed
right
in.
language.
Oh, we know you steamed in. This is not the right language. Yeah.
But I appreciate too. There are bigger hills to die on, frankly, and yeah, I was told. Yeah, thanks very much, Rory. We're gonna stick with reconciliation for our normalization. So it's quite interesting as well because it doesn't just revolve around, shall we say, esoteric terms in IT asset management. Vendors have a tendency to do it as well. So same client again, speaking with somebody, and they were talking about data quality and how they were going to use policies to drive data quality. And I was like, well, okay, there's a kind of a hop, skip, and a jump going from a policy down to operation and gathering data and driving quality. It's great that we mention it up a policy, that's important, but it's there's too many air gaps in between to say that policy is going to influence data quality, the technical level. And what it turns out is that ServiceNow have a mindset or a view that what you can do is you can do policy by design. So you essentially have scripts in ServiceNow that benchmark the data, but they call those scripts policies. Fine. So again, there are hills to die on with all of this, but I think as an ITAM professional, it's most important that you have that almost lawyer-like definition of what these terms mean, so that when people start bandying around terms, you you have a crystal clear appreciation in your own head of what they should be saying rather than what they are saying.
Yep. Nice. And a newer one, actually, according to the ISO Standards website, is Dash 6, which is the hardware identification tags. Edition 1 published just last year in 2024. So very similar to the SWID tags. Can you call them WHID tags?
With tags, yes.
WHID tags.
Fine work done by Ben Strickland on getting the hardware identification tags sorted. It's no easy thing taking a standard and driving it through to publication. So well done to Ben. And again, I guess it's there for use. There might be a tangential sort of adoption that you can apply there. Certainly in the ITOM world as well, your operations management. One of the chaps whose name escapes me was very keen on things that were static but wouldn't be considered typically IT, but we can apply a tag to it because it's very sort of manufacturing or production based.
Yeah.
So, that lathe in the corner, well, all of a sudden, from an IT perspective, that might be a CI.
Yeah.
Or
an asset.
Okay, well, if it certainly, yes, at the first level, it will be an asset, but then at that point, if you've got to make sure that support is given to that lathe, and it's not sort of considered a traditional IT, CI, but you want to manage it in some way, shape, or form. Make sure that it's, people don't pick up lathes like they do laptops. I get that, but you want it mapping, and you want to see it in there in its operation in some degree. You could put a hardware tag in it, perhaps, or just so you've got that mapping, you've got that architecture in place.
Nice. Good luck to WHID tags as a new ISO standard. I hope it takes off because, again, like the SWID tag, sounds like it could be really useful. Remind me, what was Dash 7, Rory?
So 7 was the tagging taxonomy standard. So the idea was that once you have all these tags bouncing around your IT estate, how are you going to manage those? Because it would be a subset of what you do in IT asset management. So tags are created, they're read, they're possibly written to, they're deleted or archived. That's not unlike data. There is a life cycle to follow with those things. What sort of a framework do you apply to the management of those tags? Because what you don't want to have necessarily is people just creating tags on spec and saying, I created this tag, it's great, and then it hits a SAM suite and it doesn't get recognised because the data is just all screwy or it's just not to spec.
Nice, good. And that one doesn't appear to be around anymore, as it's not even on the ISO website.
No, I don't think it ever hit first draft, to be honest. So that would explain why.
Dash 8. Testing your knowledge now. We're up to the 8. What is Dash 8? Remind us, Rory, if you can remember.
Oh, I can't. This one's burned into my brain, and I'll tell you for why.
Oh, this is your one, isn't it?
When we did the process kit, which we've only mentioned once, I did these processes I did some processes many moons ago, and we'll give you the real backstory. And I had about sort of 23, 24 of these things in a body of work. And then a fine lady called Kylie Fowler approached me and said, you don't really have anything targeted towards hardware. And I was like, hardware? No, I don't.
What do you mean hardware?
I don't. So, hardware doesn't do it for me, I'm sorry. But anyway, so we we set about...
Carry on.
We set about doing this body of work, and we didn't kill each other in the process. So Kylie then suggested, why don't we take the software processes and make sure they're aligned to -1? And I thought, well, that'll be a quick 6-week sprint. It won't take long. 2 years later, we get it completed, and I'm rightly proud of this body of work that we've created. The only thing I haven't done is an ecosystem showing how they all talk together on one sheet of paper. That's literally my next thing to do now. My head is out the sand, and that's New Year's resolution 2025. But I put the post about this on LinkedIn, and somebody then said to me, well, have you had it accredited to -8? And I was like, huh? What's that? I wasn't even aware. So what you can do is any work you say is aligned to 19770-1, you put it through an accreditation matrix for -8, so that you can then say with some degree of authority, because it's actually hosted on a website, to say that the body of work from ITAM Accelerate aligns to ISO 19770-1 because it's been through that matrix.
Ingrained in that skull of yours now, Rory, is it?
Absolutely. And what I'll do, David, I'll send you the link, so you can, if anybody else wants to pursue -8, they feel like they've got a body of work that approximates to -1, then they can pursue that joyous experience.
Nice. So -8 is Rory's favourite of the ITAM ISO standards. He's not protesting it, so there you go. Silence, will take your silence as golden. Right. You've smashed all of them so far. -9.
No clue.
Apparently -9 is the first edition of the ITAM inventory schema in the ISO 19770 family of standards. That is all the information I have on -9.
Well, that's more than I have.
-9 is coming. It's coming. Is there a -10?
There is. I think that's help and guidance around implementing -1, and I think
It is.
Yeah, and if you want to get the skinny on that particular one, it's worth having a chat with Kylie about it, actually, because she was quite invested in that one, I believe. I think she had a fair bit to do with that one.
Is -10 the last one? No.
Oh no, I think they go on. So there was
-11. Oh, -11, requirement for bodies providing audit and certification of IT asset management systems.
So there you go. So if you are a certification body, a bit like brand compliance and or then others, or you want to become a body, there's a guidance document to say this is how you interpret output in accordance with the -1 standard.
Nice. I like that one. That's good. I like that. I can't see a -12. -13.
It could be that those are in the inner bowels of Working Group 21, which looks after the 19770 family. So they could be draft or not yet reached the ISO
-13. -13's under development as well. So the Working Group 21 are continuously adding new standards into the ISO 19770 family. Then, and it sounds like there's no kind of limit, really, is there? You can just keep adding iterations, things that will be useful for the ITAM industry.
Yeah, yes. I'll just say I keep adding. It sounds like it's a thing that's happening on a weekly basis. It's not. The word glacial does come to mind, unfortunately. And this is no disrespect to ISO. It is a voluntary organisation.
Yeah.
People have day jobs. We shouldn't be expecting, want an ISO standard every year or something new every year. Forgive me, I've got a cat underneath me that is just looking for attention, doing my nuts. Please don't expect like weekly publications coming out of the Working Group 21. It's not that kind of a setup in ISO.
And like you said, everyone in the ISO standards, even those that lead the ITAM ISO standards in Working Group 21, they all have day jobs. They're all volunteers. It's no one's actual job within, the working group to define all of these. People like, I think Ron Brill's quite a big member of the working group, has a day job, has a big day job at Angle Point. Martin Thompson, I think, is involved, has a day job, has a big day job. Rory Canavan has a day job. Do you know what I mean? It reminds me a bit of grassroots football when people expect a lot from the volunteers without realising that you don't actually work for the club that you're volunteering for. They just see you as part of the working group. Therefore, you must literally sit there and just define standards all the time and update them. And it's like, it's not quite how it works. Everyone on there has a day job.
Yeah, actually, that Sunday League football, there's a classic example. You can spot the true warriors in the team when it comes to putting up the nets. Who actually volunteers to put the nets up? Yeah, and who are the slackers who are just like, oh God, no, not me.
Who turn up like 2 minutes before kickoff, going, oh, I'm here, boys.
Yeah,
I'm ready. Rory, it's been super interesting so far. My last question and what I said at the beginning of it, are the ISO standards worth being accredited for or following? And now I say this because, again, I think before we started, I said I've never heard of an organisation that has even referenced wanting to comply with the ISO standards for ITAM. So is that just a lack of marketing and knowledge about it, or is it people just think that ITAM, people use their experiences and other things when implementing ITAM rather than an ISO standard? I'd love to know your thoughts on that one.
So if we compare to, say, 27001, okay, it's a comfort blanket for people who can't, who want to. This is my life.
Yeah.
Furry wren dodgers everywhere. So 27001 gives a company that feeling and assurance that they are looking after data. And there's the ever-present sort of problem of either data going missing or somebody knocking on the door saying you're not managing data, therefore we're going to fine you. And that quite scares organisations. And rightly so, particularly in the US, in the financial sector, you can get absolutely hammered for it. So you don't get that so much with 19770. The fear is ever present that if you're not handling software asset data correctly, the prospect of a vendor audit can be very expensive if mismanaged. But what's the relevance to them? I think I'll go back to my previous point. Certification may not be your ultimate goal, but improved SAM or ITAM absolutely will be, and therefore get on it. And you can use the ISO standard to get further along that maturity curve. It will help you. So make use of it. If you don't end up with a certificate on the wall, don't worry about it. You will still get benefit out of putting on that mindset, looking at IT asset management as a management system standard, because I guarantee if you've got other ISO certifications that also follow a management system standard, you'll find areas of crossover that you can help there or that they can help you. So you might be further along the road than you thought originally.
And it's Rory's cat approved, right?
This one is. There are there's one other in the house I'd gladly put up for adoption.
Does your cat approve of the ISO standards for ITAM?
Well, she gets fed off the back of it, so I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah.